Hello.
Hello.
Hey guys, it's we're back once again for the next episode of A Conversation with Kely. Episode God knows what at this point. We stopped keeping track of that a long time ago, but as always, I am here, my lovely and beautiful co-host Allie. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. I just had a pretty chill day, another day off of mine. I just went for a walk and got some exercise and fresh air. Um, might go to my work friend's house later for a little bit, not too long, but just maybe for a couple hours or so because of one of my other coworkers' birthday celebrations. But other than that, just had a pretty chill day. And I'm excited to talk about these last two episodes.
Yes, I didn't say what we were talking about before, but I will get into it. We're going to be discussing the next two episodes of Survivor 44. We are 2 weeks behind, so we want to get caught up before the new one comes out tomorrow. I'm doing pretty good myself. If you don't want to talk about the terrible allergies that I've been going through the past week, that's a lot of fun. If I look like I got a black eye, that's why. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and get started here. Now, these two episodes that we're talking about, I will just be honest, could not be more different in terms of quality.
True.
One of these episodes we're talking about, I have a lot to say about for the wrong reasons, and the other one I have a little bit more to say about for different reasons, but let's just get into it. What did you think of these two episodes we're going to talk about overall?
I mean, the first one, I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it either. Because there were definitely some things wrong with it. But the 8th episode I thought was actually really good.
Yeah. So obviously, the big thing about these two episodes is that it's officially the start of Merge. You'll see why I put it in quotes in a little bit. But we're going to start off talking about episode 7, which honestly, based on the reception, I think it's pretty safe to say it was a really controversial episode of Survivor for a lot of different reasons, and you're going to see where we fall on it in a little bit, but we're going to go ahead and start off, and Allie is going to read what happens in episode 7.
All right, here we go. After Josh's elimination, Jam Jam talks to everyone and says that he loves them all and he doesn't want to make it awkward and that they should be glad it wasn't him tonight because they were all going to be sent to hell. And that seems to win them over. And Brandon congrats them all on making Merge.
And I will say, the one thing I can definitely say about Jam Jam in these two episodes is that I think out of everybody, he by far has the strongest social game where he's in a scenario where he keeps finding himself in the line of fire, but he's always able to kind of get through it through his humor and things like that. I think he just has such a strong social game, and I think he has such an interesting arc, and we're really seeing that in these two episodes.
Oh yeah, I agree. And I mean, I actually don't even dislike anybody that's left. I like pretty much the whole cast, and they're just all super entertaining to watch.
Yeah, it's a really, really fun cast for sure.
Oh yeah. He talks about how much tribal council sucked and that he saw his name on the ballot for the first time tonight, and he's happy that Josh thankfully left. However, he knows that his name is now an option and he's scared, so he goes back to his strategy of charming people, and despite them playing an individual game, they all need friends, so that's what he's going to do. Yeah, I will say it's working out for him. Not really in the best spot.
I disagree. I think he's in a really good spot after this episode, but if we're talking about specifically this episode, yeah, he's not in a great spot.
Yes and no. He's kind of in the middle, but he's also on the outs too. Well, because really his main person he has is Carolyn.
He also has Carson.
And Carson too.
I think he's in a bad spot in this episode, but when we get later on, I think he's in a better spot now. But right now, if you were to talk to me, if we were talking only about this episode, I would say, yeah, Jam Jam's not in a great spot.
Yeah. He talks to all of them on the Merge Name Tribe, and they all settle on Bava, which is 44 in Fijian, which is pretty cool.
Which I thought was interesting. If they had them choose the Merge tribe name before, at least that I've seen, it seems like it's already been pre-discussed. So I was surprised that decide on the merge name.
Yeah, I thought it was actually a pretty cool idea.
I'm sure they've done it before, but like in the seasons that we've watched, I haven't seen that.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool, honestly, and like I really like the name. Before they solidify it, Jam Jam noticed Matt is not here, who is surprisingly off in the woods with Franny.
Yeah, and we talked about how this was definitely going to be like a big problem for Matt, and I think we definitely see that come to fruition in this episode.
Yeah. Matt talks about how he's feeling weirdly confident and though he went on a journey and lost 2 votes early on because of the journey. And he's very happy he has a vote now and he can play Survivor. He feels like his wings have spreaded and he talks about making great relationships such as Franny. And he mentions having an idol and feels great. But then he realizes and puts 2 and 2 together that someone might have taken the real one and that he's left with a fake one. Like, that's just like there for no reason. That's just there.
Yeah.
He says Danny is acting funky and he feels like he's been set up by him. And he underestimated him, but realizes he's making big moves.
And I feel like just based on this scene alone, like you could tell, oh, Matt's fucked. Like this is the kind of scene that you see in Survivor where it's like, I'm in a great position, everything's going my way, and then it just like implodes. Like
I
how
know.
many times that?
Danny says it's common knowledge that Lauren has an extra vote, and if she doesn't win immunity, she's got to go because it'll get rid of the 2 votes. Because that's what seems like that's what people were trying to do. Like the only people who really had her back were 2.
Yeah, and I will say, like, I like Lauren a lot, but I hate that literally her only story in the season right now is that she has an extra vote. Like, that's literally all she's had, and it kind of sucks because, and listen, I've been on the side this season where I'm like, give me all the chaos, give me all the crazy twists, I'm here for it. But I think we are starting to see the effect of what happens when there's just a bit too much going on in the way of production. And I think the fact that Lauren now has this extra vote, it kind of sucks because it feels like they could have created a storyline around her, literally any storyline. And instead they had to conjure up some sort of advantage in order for her to have any sort of storyline in the season. So it almost feels like without this, Lauren would be basically purpled, which I kind of hate because I want to know more about Lauren. I want to root for Lauren.
What if Lauren actually wins, though?
I don't think she would because I don't know anything about her aside from the fact that she has an extra vote. That being said, on the flip side of that, we knew nothing about Gabler in 43 other than he was hiding in plain sight and nobody took it seriously. So I'm not going to rule out the possibility that Lauren can win, but the fact that she's had so little content, even of her own, like I can't recall the last time she even had a confessional of her own. It just makes me feel like there's no scenario that Lauren wins this game.
No, it's hard to say there with that.
Because at least Gabler had confessionals like fairly often. So you can at least say, okay, it wasn't like people were just talking about him. Whereas Lauren, people just talk about. We don't really get to see her perspective on things. And it's just frustrating. It's really frustrating.
He talks to Franny, Carson, and Kane about going for her. And he says he's a little devious snake and he's causing mischief. And then Matt talks to Kane and Franny and that he's not opposed to a Lauren vote, but he's also not opposed to making Danny feel like he's in charge of things. Kane says if Danny thinks he's leading the Lauren vote, he feels like it could be a really good time to get rid of him.
And Matt says I know you've been a really big Danny fan up to this point, but I think we're really starting to see that.
He's not like my number 1 or anything. I just think he's really entertaining to watch and he is fun.
He is fun to watch, but I think he's like really overplaying here. And I do think that Danny is.
I will say, though, I am here for his duo with the Heidi.
Oh, yeah. We'll get more into that in the second episode.
Like, we like that his like main duo is a woman.
Yeah, we'll get to that in the other episode we talk about. But I do think that Danny is not in a great spot. And I think this is very much saying that. But then here's the thing. This episode, I have a lot to say about. But up to this point, I was like, oh, this is really promising. We're seeing this like tribe versus tribe dynamic. What's going to happen here? We'll talk about that.
Yeah. Matt says if he does have the idol, the more crazy he's going to get. And then he lets Carson know that they're thinking of Danny Blindside and because of his plan and they think he won't play his idol.
Right. So at this point, I'm like, oh, this is it for Danny, I guess.
Yeah. Carson feels like he's in a great position where everyone wants to work with him. And he says Danny and Lauren are in the spotlight, and himself and Tika are the ones deciding who's going to win the war between Sokka and Ratu, which is perfect for him.
And again, like, normally when you see moments like this where someone's like, I'm in a great spot, it's usually really bad for them. But thankfully, that's not the case for Carson. Carson is not in a bad
spot. Carson could definitely win.
Oh, yeah. I become more and more convinced every episode that it's going to be Carson.
Like, right now, I think it could be Carolyn or Carson, but I don't know.
It's someone from Tika's winning. I've said it from the beginning. They've had such a huge focus. I don't see a scenario where it's not someone from their side winning, but
yeah, we'll definitely see.
We'll see what happens. Okay, so before you read the next note here, I was gonna say, so like I said, up to this point, I thought this episode had a lot of intrigue. There's a lot of interesting dynamics with, Sokka with the Ahsoka versus Ratu of it all. Oh my God, what's gonna happen here? They're kind of coming for each other. You see Tika's kind of in the middle here. It seemed like we were gearing up for a Danny blindside, and then we get this announcement that basically halts any real momentum that was going on within this episode.
Oh, sorry. I was just texting Emily.
Oh, I was saying that basically this next announcement that we get in terms of the immunity challenge pretty much halts any real momentum we had going on within the episode up to this point.
Yeah. This part, we'll see. It's just like this next part is not our favorite.
Not great.
No. For the next immunity challenge, they're going to stand on a narrow beam while balancing and pull a ball at the end of a long pole. At regular intervals, they're going to move farther down the beam, making it more difficult. If at any point they fall off the beam or their ball drops, they're out.
And I'm fine with this, obviously. Don't have much to say here, but there's another part.
There is a twist to the challenge, which is dividing them into 2 teams of 5. Like, really? More teams? This is merge.
Yeah, this really pissed me off a lot because, and look, I would not have a problem with this if we didn't just have an entire episode where it's like you have to earn your spot in the merge and, only half of you are going to be safe and then the half of you are going to get to the merge. And now we're at merge and you're waiting to see all of them strategize. And right when they're supposedly merged, right back into tribes. And at that point, it's like, if you're going to do this, and I want to hear your perspective on this, because I'm doing a lot of the talking here, but like, I feel like if they were going to do this, they should have just swapped them. That probably made the most sense. Just do a little bit of a swap for like 1 to 2 rounds if you really wanted to like see different dynamics, because having them merge and then immediately put in other tribes, it just felt ridiculously unfair to me, and I did not understand the point of this at all.
Yeah, I'm honestly like in the same boat as you here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like, because I think you've been kind of on the same.
I just wish like they would just make it a normal merge again. Like, it's because like we don't need to keep having teams.
Well, it's not so much that I have an issue with. The issue that I have, because I have been fine with most of the twists that they've done in recent seasons, mainly because they haven't been like super effective and they haven't had like a huge impact on things. This, on the other hand, I really have a problem with because of the fact that it just feels like it's only there to make things more chaotic. It's only there to make things more exciting. You can tell in the episode that Jeff is like really trying to sell them on the idea of this. And I feel like it did the exact opposite, where we had so much intrigue. We had so many possibilities of where this could go. And it ended in like probably the most unexciting way possible, at least in my opinion. That's kind of how I felt here.
Yeah.
This was just not very exciting to watch at all.
Mm-mm. I mean, it definitely was exciting at points. It's just it wasn't really the most outstanding.
Yeah, this is not what you come to watch when you want to see Emergent Survivor.
Mm-mm. We just want like a regular merge where there's only one person immune.
Yeah. This was not it.
But yeah, so the player who lasts the longest on each team earns an individual immunity, and then
But
there's
that's
another.
not all.
And then there is another twist to the challenge, which
I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
Which is where the player who lasts the longest out of everybody earns for their team immunity. They will go to tribal, but just watch it from the jury box, and they will not vote.
I'm trying to wrap my head around this. You have.
So it's really just like 4 people that are vulnerable.
That's what I'm saying. You have all these people merge, and you tell them they've earned their spot in the merge. And what is the thing that half of them get to do through winning immunity is absolutely nothing. Literally half of the cast in this episode is completely ineffective. They have nothing to do except just kind of just sit there and hope for the best. Like, that's literally all they do. And that's just not exciting TV. That's so boring to watch. And not just that, I just feel like it's really unfair to the players, because who have now been told that they're earned their spot in the merge. They're ready to play the merge, and they basically now have to wait around for things to get crazy. And I just really hated this a lot. Like, why aren't they able to talk? It's not like they're in tribes or anything. Like, this isn't going to last more than one round. Why can't they talk? I can understand.
Literally, it's like, what is this?
Well, so like if they did what they've been doing with like the doubles, where it's like one person from each tribe goes, that I can understand. That made sense to me. I didn't have a problem with that at all. They're each kind of doing their own thing. I don't have a problem with that. But I really have a problem with the fact that they can't talk. So like half of them are basically, pretty much just like they're just mindless sheep. They're just supposed to sit there and just let it happen. Like, it's horrible.
Yep.
And I hate to say it, but it doesn't get better from here.
No, not this episode. All right. They're also playing for reward, which are PB&J sandwiches, salty potato chips, and iced tea.
That's great, but again, they can't vote, so who cares?
And then the orange team ends up being Heidi, Kane, Danny, Franny, and Carolyn. And the purple team,
the more interesting team.
Yeah. And then the purple team are Lauren, Jam Jam, Jamie, Matt, and Brandon.
I feel like happened there.
Like right now, the most entertaining from the purple are probably Jam Jam and Brandon.
Well, that's not the issue that I have. The issue is that, like, I don't know. There's like almost all of Ratu on one tribe, and then Matt and Jam Jam. What could possibly happen?
Literally. And then Carson drew the gray rock, and he must choose who he thinks will last the longest. He chooses orange, which means if they win, he wins, and if orange loses, he loses with them.
Right.
In a super tight race, Franny has won immunity for orange, and it's down to her and most of purple. Brandon then wins immunity for purple, so it's a very close race between him and Franny for team immunity, and then Franny then wins immunity for her team.
I don't know why. Like, I don't know why Franny won immunity here, especially when like she knew that Matt was vulnerable.
Because like she could have just dropped, let them have it, and then like her and Matt would have been safe.
Yeah, and then from what I heard, and I could be wrong about this, but from what people have said post-season, is that apparently if this tribe were to go to tribal, they would have just blindsided Danny, and that wouldn't have affected Franny in any real way.
Mean, I don't know, because Danny could have used his idol on himself, because it would be limited options.
I mean, he could have, but I don't know if he would have actually done
Also, Heidi wouldn't vote him.
Yeah, I don't know. I just heard that.
Because they would probably vote for, I don't know who they'd vote for. Probably Jamie? Maybe Franny?
Jamie's not on that team.
Oh, wait, sorry. They would have, let's see. They probably would have voted for like...
Oh, no, like Kane?
Yeah, probably Kane, maybe Franny. Wait, no, sorry. Franny would have been immune in that set. Sorry, probably Kane, yeah.
Yeah.
Because, that's probably what happened.
Because remember, literally only 4 people can be voted for, which is so stupid.
Mm-hmm. Matt didn't even anticipate that they wouldn't be going back to their beach, and he left all of his stuff in his bag. So he only has his water bottle with him. He doesn't have his idol or a shot in the dark, but he's still very excited and proud of Franny.
This just pissed me off even more. Like, are you kidding me?
I will say though, why didn't he just bring it with him?
I mean, I get that, but like, come on, he's human. Like, people forget things, and I feel like
they could have at least had him go back and grab it.
That's my thing. The way that it's treated in this episode, it almost feels like they are the way they edited Matt in this episode, they edit him like he's a joke. It's not a very respectful edit at all. They kind of like make a mockery out of the fact that like he forgot his bag and things like that. I don't know. I really had a problem with the way they handled this, because I thought of like, if someone else, if I was in that scenario, what would happen if I forgot my bag and, people wouldn't let me get it and things like that. I can't imagine how embarrassing it is to have to go to tribal and not even have your bag on you, and no one does anything to help you with it. It just really pissed me off. So in addition to all the other things that were bothering me in this episode, this was just like the nail in the coffin for me, where I'm like, no, this is insane. Are you kidding me? This is ridiculous.
I know. I felt so bad for him.
I really did too. I felt bad for a lot of people in this episode who didn't really get to do much. Speaking of which, let's talk about Orange, which, spoilers, there's not much to talk about because they can't do much of anything in this episode.
Yeah, literally.
They get back to camp, they enjoy their food and drinks, and Danny says that Franny is an absolute force of nature. He thinks it's epic that he's safe and can have a treat. Once they finish eating, they're going to open this note together, which they're a bit terrified of, and Heidi thinks that Jam Jam and Matt are the two people most in jeopardy, which Danny agrees. Franny says that she knows that a lot of them feel very strongly about wanting Matt to stay, but she doesn't even think that they'll be able to talk. And so Danny agrees and says that they're going to be like a jury member, which, yeah, I mean, that's why this is so stupid. They don't even really get to do much. So
yeah,
Franny says that it was an amazing feeling winning immunity for herself, but she feels like she put her best friend in the game to possibly go home. And in some sense, she'd rather be on the chopping block herself and have the power to at least write a name down. So she'll be watching Matt fight for his life, which terrifies her. And again,
no shit.
I'm going to reiterate, if that was really a concern, Franny, you didn't have to get immunity for your entire team.
Yeah, literally.
Sometimes it is okay to be a little selfish. And I feel like Franny in this scenario should have been selfish. It's like, I feel like it's pretty obvious looking
like, just save yourself and you're our closest ally.
Especially like looking at the makeup of that team, I feel like it was pretty obvious Matt was probably going to get votes. Maybe not necessarily go, but at least was going to get votes. And I think if she had any doubt in her mind, especially if saving Matt is like a priority, she should have just not taken the immunity for her team. So again, this is where it just gets really messy for me. Like, I don't think you save you and your team. I think it really just should have been like a double here, because that would have been infinitely more interesting.
It would have been
than what ended up happening. But at the same time, you do have to, you do have to deal with the cards you're dealt with. And I feel like, I feel like when it comes to Franny, like she could have easily, done something where she just chooses to be selfish and she doesn't go because she's immune, and then probably ends up controlling the vote at that point. So yeah, it really sucked what happened here. I felt for Franny, but at the same time, it's like you kind of did this to yourself. So, so Danny says that everyone here likely wants Matt to stay and asks how Carolyn feels about that and if she's super tight with Jam Jam. And she says that it's the two of them and he's going to fight, and she's expecting for him to go because she's very doubtful that it's going to be Matt. And while she doesn't want Jam Jam to go, it really does come down to who is well connected, and it's not him, but she has really no control over it, and it sucks and feels powerless. And I'm here like, yeah, it does suck. You literally can't do anything. Like, I really felt for Carolyn in this moment. I can't reiterate it enough. This was so unfair. I hated this.
I did too.
Nothing about this is fun to watch. So probably the most interesting part of this episode appears next, where they each take turns. They sit around the circle. They're hoping there's something in there that can help Matt survive. Franny eventually opens the notes, and they're told that there's a new advantage locked in the cage and that there are keys scattered in the jungle, but only one can open the cage. And each time they find the cage, they have to race to go find it. But each time they find a key, they must race to the cage and try it. And the first who gets it gets the new advantage inside. What did you think about this? I feel like I've done a lot of talking, so let's get your insight on this.
On the advantage?
No, just the idea that there's a new advantage in the cage.
I mean,
else.
it's definitely overpowering, but it's definitely like cool, like it's definitely like cool in concept, but it's also just very like overpowering too. So it's really like hit or miss for me.
I would not have had a problem with it
And
if
like,
we did.
or with what the power is. Ooh, I don't know. I was not really crazy about this power.
Yeah, I mean, we knew going into this episode there was going to be something along the lines of like, one of you might not even be in control of your vote. And we were like, what the hell does that mean? And we'll get into that in a little bit. But for me, I would have been fine with this if we didn't have so much else going on this episode. It's like, okay, we have them put into teams, but then they can't talk to each other. But then Matt forgot his bag, and that's a factor. But then Franny didn't save Matt, so that's an issue. But then they also aren't allowed to talk to each other, so that's an issue. And also now there is another advantage hidden in the cage. So you see how much is going on here. It really just becomes too much after a while.
It does. Like, I mean, yes, their advantages are spicy and fun, but not. But then there's a point where it's too much.
It feels like they only did this so they had something to do. Like, that's literally the only reason. They didn't just want them to sit around and be hopeless. Which it's like, at that point, again, just let them go to tribal. Let them take part in the vote. Let them talk at least. Don't let them sit around and do nothing. That's not fun to watch. So, yeah, I mean, I would have been fine with this if we had not nearly as much going on here. But the race is on to retrieve this new advantage. Ultimately, while everyone does put in a solid effort, Heidi is able to find the correct key. And I will say I was happy for this because after this episode, Heidi is kind of becoming that person that like doesn't have a lot going on pre-merge, but actually is having a pretty decent edit at merge.
Yeah, she's getting way more like content.
Yeah, she kind of reminds me of like Lindsay in 42, where it's like she didn't have a ton going on and then became like one of the key figures in that season. And Heidi's very much like in a similar position. But I will say, I like the fact that Heidi's getting more of an edit. I hate that this is the reason. So she opens the cage. She's very happy to have found it, but is unsure how to really play it because everyone saw her do it. So it's a very open advantage. There's really no way for her to hide behind this.
Yeah,
but she reads the note.
It's basically a public advantage.
Yes, she gets what's probably one of the most like cracked advantages I think I've seen in Survivor.
Yeah.
She has what's called a control of vote advantage, and this allows her to control the vote of one player. And no matter what happens, they must cast a vote for that player. She has to use this advantage until this round. Basically, she has to use it now. And so she's very excited to use this, wants to do so in the best way. This was not something I was very big on at all.
I just don't really like that she has to like control someone's vote. Like, just let them do what they want.
Well, I think especially like, let's put yourself in the perspective of like someone like Matt, for example, who hasn't been able to vote like all season and now can finally vote. And then the fact that like that could be taken away again through nothing.
That would be so sad.
It's just like, and like, again, I haven't really thought about this because I've been kind of fine with what they've been doing. But like, this is where I'm like, you know what? Maybe it is an issue that they're not able to vote. Maybe it is an issue that they can't really do anything about it because the fact that somebody literally can control your vote, you have to vote that way. At that point, just make it a steal a vote. Like, I don't understand why this needs to be a thing. I think that Survivor wanted to do something really crazy, really different. They keep trying to do stuff like they had knowledge is power and then that failed, so they got rid of that. I forgot what they had last season, but that didn't work either. And now they have this, and oh my God, it's going to be another failed advantage because I don't think we're ever going to see this again.
Literally, though.
So Heidi talks to Franny about her advantage. Franny is hoping they can use this to save Matt and that they need to vote Jam Jam, although it may bother Carolyn. So she says that Heidi is very receptive and takes other people's ideas into account. But at the end of the day, she's a woman who will do what she wants and what she thinks is best. So Danny tells Heidi he would prefer for Lauren to go and says that he would need her to play it on Lauren to give to Jam Jam and Matt a heads up to put the votes on her. Heidi talks to Carolyn about this plan. She's thrilled. and she tells Kane that she loves Matt, but it makes her wonder if he's really dangerous because everyone loves him as well as Franny being so close to him. And she tells Franny that she doesn't think she has the power to save him, and Franny says she does, and that Brandon may vote with him, especially after voting Jam Jam yesterday. And the one thing I will say about Heidi, she's very much someone where, like, you don't tell her what to do. She does her own thing, and I love that about her. But I do think that's going to be her downfall because we can already see Franny's pretty pissed at the fact that she's not doing anything here.
I really do love the Danny and Heidi duo, though, because it is like just like Carolyn and Jam Jam. Like, both those duos are so entertaining.
Oh, yeah, definitely. It would have been cool if, and it really sucks that it didn't happen, but it would have been cool if like Helen or Sarah weren't voted out, because we could have seen like a Carson and like Sarah or Helen type dynamic too.
I know, I wish.
Not the case.
I missed that.
Yeah, I really do too. Especially Helen. We didn't really get to see much of anything from her.
Yeah. And then I also wish that Maddie wasn't voted. So like Maddie and Brandon could have had a dynamic.
I mean, there's a lot of dynamics we could have gotten.
Like, I feel like if Maddie and like say if Jamie left, then I feel like Maddie and Brandon would have been like a duo.
I wish, because Jamie's like literally giving me nothing.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, I like Jamie. I just wish she left then, just because she hasn't really done like a lot.
Yeah,
I like her. She's just not doing much.
She's just like always happy. Like, that's all she is. She's just like always happy and positive. Like, that's her entire edit. Like, I need something more.
We just want to see more game from her.
Yeah. So Heidi brings up that Lauren.
Like, I will say she's really just a number for her too.
Yeah, she really is. So Heidi brings up that Lauren does have 2 votes and she could go for her. And while it may be the safest to go for Jam Jam, she actually has a sweet spot for him and she actually wants to try to work with him. And so she'd love to save Matt, but it may not be a good idea to keep someone around if everyone loves him. And she loves power, but she has to use it in such a way to gain friends rather than enemies. And that's everything we get with Orange. Oh my God, so much interesting stuff going on. Who's Heidi going to use her vote on? That's literally all there is to talk about.
That's it.
When it comes to Orange.
Right.
Let's get to the tribe that actually is at risk here, because I will say right now that this was tragic to watch. Like, everything we get,
I know,
was just like so sad. Not even because of the circumstance. It's just like the hand that they were dealt with. That what production thought was going to be interesting to watch is just so incredibly boring and sad. And I didn't like any of it.
No. Brandon says that Franny is a monster and he was trying to compete as hard as he could and wanted that win to get some blood on his hands, but this kind of worked out for him. He has Lauren and Jamie on his side, who were too strong up to this point and can control what happened, and they have Jam Jam, who really doesn't have anyone, and Matt, who is separated from Sokka.
Yeah, and this is why I really just didn't like this at all, because it's obviously the 3 Ratus are going to control the vote, and there's really no other point in watching what happens, because it's pretty obvious what happens.
I know. Matt talks about how all of his closest allies are a part of the other tribe, and it's just him, and he feels it's basically up to Ratu.
Poor Matt, honestly. Like, it's not his day. He doesn't have his bag and he has no allies. It's so bad.
I know, it's so upsetting. He talks to them about it and tries to pitch Lauren, but Brandon says he will not be doing that. He says the plan was to flip the game onto Ratu, but it seems like they're all pretty tight, so he needs to go into self-preservation mode.
Yeah, I mean, I will say I think he had the right idea in like trying to find a crack within Ratu. But something that I've realized, because I've been in this scenario before in orgs where it's like you're dominated by a tribe, you're trying to find a crack, you just have to turn on one of your allies. Like, that's literally what you have to do. And it sucks, but like you basically have to try to, put the vote onto somebody that's on the other tribe that you're on, because if a tribe is like dominating, they're not going to turn on each other. So I like that Matt tried to find the cracks there, but I think he should have just been like, just vote Jam Jam, because there was no way he was going to get out of this, scot-free, unfortunately.
Yeah. He talks to them. What?
He did try.
Oh, he did.
And I did like seeing him without Franny, but I do think this episode confirmed to me that without Franny, Matt is kind of nothing.
Yeah, he doesn't really have much of a social game.
No, he really doesn't. And it sucks, but
yeah. He talks to them some more and says that he really doesn't want to go and wants to work with all of them. And Brandon says he sees the value with him over Jam Jam, and he's been sketched out with him since last night. So his worry is that somehow, some way that will come full circle.
Right.
Jam Jam talks to Lauren and brings up that this morning he overheard Danny wants her out because of her extra vote. And he doesn't know if Matt and Danny are working together, but he knows that Matt is very intelligent. And Lauren says she wants him out. She says that Matt doesn't have his back, so he doesn't have anything, and she's down to put down his name.
Jam Jam is just like causing all the chaos here, and I'm here for it.
Oh, it's so funny. He's just like throwing people's names left and right.
Oh, yeah. Which, I mean, in this scenario, like, especially if you're vulnerable, like, this is what you do. You just cause all the chaos, so, like, it doesn't fall onto you. And I think he did a really good job with that here.
Oh, he did. She is not happy to hear about Danny coming for her, and is a bit weary, but thinks getting rid of Matt would get rid of Sokka's numbers and break up the showmans because they can't go any further.
Which, again, if Matt and Franny were together at this point, and like this had to do with like they're going off in the woods together and they're not really strategizing with anyone, then this would be exciting to watch. But again, because Franny can't do literally anything about it, this is not exciting to watch. This is just like very disappointing that this is how this like very tragic story ends. I think we all knew that like Matt and Franny were going to be split up at some point, but I didn't think it was going to be like this unceremonious.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like, this is a lame way to go out.
Yep. Jam Jam is very happy to hear a name that isn't his, but is unsure if people are being truthful, and is hoping he can start to get some power here. Matt is really missing Franny talking about how she's his rock in this game, and it's impossible to describe how important it is to trust someone. And he's feeling alone and unsupported, and doesn't even have his bag or shot in the dark, and is hoping Franny may remember it.
And again, like, I felt so bad for Matt here. Like, nothing's going his way.
I know. He talks to Jam Jam and tells him about forgetting his bag, and they agree to team up and vote together this round. So it'll be 2 against 2, and they can hopefully try to vote Lauren or Jamie.
Now, ideally, this sounds like the right idea. It's like, let's team up. We'll try to, like, get one of them out. But, like, generally, this was never going to work. Like, it was always going to be between those two. They could try to find the crack there with Lauren, but, like, you need certain people on your side to get Lauren out. Danny's not there. Yeah. You need Danny. Heidi's not there. I think Heidi would be willing to put a vote on Lauren. And the fact that they're not there really lessens the chances of this ever happening. So while I think Jam Jam did the right thing and being like, all right, let's try to team up, there was no way this was ever going to work out, unfortunately.
Yeah. Brandon is wondering what the two of them are talking about because they've been in their own for a while. Jamie says Jam Jam doesn't have a whole army behind him and is great socially with everyone, and he's a huge threat. But if Matt goes, it puts a little ripple in Sokka, but she's unsure if she still has a shot in the dark or idol.
Well, he has neither of those, so I guess you'll be fine.
Yeah. The Ratu3 talk about splitting the vote in case Matt has something with him, and Lauren is happy she is getting out this week.
Yeah. I mean, again, really not much to talk about with Purple, which is weird because they're the tribe going to tribal. But like,
yeah, there isn't that much.
It's so straightforward, and I hate it. So let's get to the tribal here, because I will say this was an infuriating tribal. Like, all around, just the way this tribal went, I was so annoyed watching it. Jeff starts off talking to Jamie about the twist, and you can see Jeff is like really trying to like hype this twist up. He loves the idea of this twist. He wants this to be a thing. And Jamie says that this is a great way to test how deep someone's social game is, because they could have 3 people they are working with or 0 people, and they may all be sitting on the other side, which again shows why this twist is a flop, because it's unfair to people who don't even have those beside them. So Matt says that the lesson being learned is how unpredictable things are, and that he didn't bring his bag. And Jeff asks what the significance is of that, and he wonders if he was able to wander over there. And Jeff asks if someone brought it, which they didn't. And instead he's going, and this didn't even feel real to me. This felt like something you see in like a parody of
I know.
Like a reality show where he's like, can I just like go over there and grab my bag? And Jeff's like, no. Like, I was like, did Chris McClain just start hosting this tribal? Like, what is going on here? I'm not
Right?
here for this like mean-spirited Jeff that's like, no, you cannot get your bag. That is on you. You forgot it. Tough shit. Like, I don't care if you have a shot in the dark or anything. Tough shit. And Matt, like, he pulls in a papaya and he's like, you know what? I'm gonna play this papaya instead. And he says it's gonna be a gesture of peace, and they can all just like go back to camp and be friends and not worry about the vote. And like he's really like filibustering here. This is not working out for him at all. So Jeff says he sounds very concerned, which like no shit, he's concerned. And he
I
brings up his
know.
perception and that there are 3 Ratus and they're the ones making the decision. And it's really him and Jam Jam pleading their cases tonight. Jam Jam says he felt the same way for the past 4 tribal councils and he's feeling hopeless. Lauren brings up all the possible advantages that could be played. Jamie's talking about the impact of everyone sitting over there. And Matt then makes a bit of a pitch. And I will say, this was a really good pitch. I thought he did a good job in trying to appeal to everybody here. He says that him and Jamie have created bonds and were on Sokka together. He worked closely with the Ratus on the last vote. He went on a journey with Lauren day 2. And if they want those qualities in an alliance member, he is sitting right there and he wants to work with all of them. And Jeff asked Brandon how he feels about the pitch, and he's actually taking in consideration that he's someone he wanted to work with, and he did put a vote on Jam Jam, and he likes to stick to his word and keep his word as well. This sucked because I felt like this is the potential of like what could have been. Like, I feel like if this twist was not a thing, Matt could have teamed up with the Ratus. We could have,
yeah.
Thing. And I feel like the Ratus would have more of a fighting chance in this game if that was the case.
Probably.
But because he doesn't, well, we'll talk about that in a little bit. But spoilers, I don't think the Ratus are very long for this game. I will say that.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
So Jam Jam says he is also convinced, but he came into the merge by himself, and he wants to play with the people that want to work with him, and he loves Matt, but he's good for the long game, and most of the other tribe is good with Matt for the long game, which, yeah, I mean, that's exactly the reason to go for him here. Yeah. So Matt gives this very emotional speech saying that he came into this game with a lot of things that he wasn't sure he'd be able to do just from a social anxiety perspective, and coming in here with a bunch of strangers and no idea how they would perceive them. And he had to find a way to trust and believe to get through it and all the things that scared him. He came in here and put all in what he tried to do. And for the most part, he's done that and is very proud of himself. And I really felt for him here. I thought this was a really like passionate speech. And again, I just really felt for him for like what was happening here. Like, I just didn't feel like any of this was fair to him. And I was like, I really just was hoping he'd find a way to get out of this. But Jam Jam,
I was hoping that too, because like just because I felt so bad for him, I wish he could have at least found a loophole.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like he really just was served a very raw deal here, and there was like nothing he could do. So yeah. Jam Jam breaks down. He says that he deflects with humor, and it's something that he's used to protect himself, and he's doing this because as a kid from Puerto Rico, it would have been impossible for him to be here, and everyone has been so supportive towards him, and he's so proud he's been able to compete, run, and push, and he can be a badass, and it's awesome. This felt like a final speech. I'm like, what are we doing here? Like, you're not at FTC yet. Like, you got to fight for your life. This is like,
literally
not fun to watch. So it's finally time to vote, but right before it, Heidi does bring up her control a vote advantage, and she's going to play it on Lauren, and she wants her to vote for Jam Jam. Lauren is informed that this really would only affect her one vote and that her extra vote will not be controlled. I was very happy that this didn't affect both votes because I thought they were going to be like cracked enough, especially with like how unfair they were being in this episode to certain players. I thought that they were going to be like, no, this affects both votes. So she still has the extra vote. I like that is still, you know, the only thing that sucks is like everyone knows she has the extra vote now. So like, if she ever wanted to keep that a secret, she can't.
Well, yeah, it's not like a secret vote.
I do think Heidi did do the right thing here. I saw some people say that like she tried to go for Lauren and it didn't work, but I feel like this was like the safest way to get out of this because, you know, realistically, she doesn't know if Jam Jam or Matt is actually going to go. And if she takes away their vote and they survive, that could really be bad for her. So I think her putting it on someone that realistically is not going to go, I think she did the right thing in doing this.
Well, I can't wait all night. So.
And it also like, what'd you say?
Oh no, I was just talking to my mom.
Oh, and it also like retains Danny's trust as well. Like I think she this was definitely the right move for her. So the vote goes down, and it ends up being an incredibly obvious vote. Oh my god, I can't believe it. And Matt ends up going, becomes the first member of the jury.
Yep.
And again, just really feeling for him here because I don't feel like, again, this was a fair outcome. Like if this was like a normal merge and he goes because of his relation with Franny, okay, I can understand that. But like there's really nothing to talk about here because I don't feel like Matt did anything to deserve any of this. He was put in a scenario that he never could have imagined. He didn't have his bag because, he never thought that this would even come up, that they'd be moving tribes or going on a different island or anything like that. So obviously, it's not his fault he forgot his bag.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of is, but also it's not at the same time.
I don't think so because
he should what he should have done is he should have just brought it with him to the comp.
I mean, yeah, but like how often do people do that?
Yeah, that's
like
true.
This basically like I saw
or just in case, just put like his shot in the dark and his idol in his pocket or something.
He could have done that, but like I've seen many people say like now this like basically forces people to have to like now feel they have to like bring their bag to everything, and like that's not the case. Like I don't think that's what we want at all. So he was in that scenario. He couldn't talk to Franny, didn't even really have much wiggle room on this vote at all. So yeah, I mean, I really felt for him here. I thought this was a really sad turn of events. And in his exit interview, he says that he doesn't think
well, it's not really an exit interview. It's just
his retrospective. He says he doesn't think that the tribe split could have been any worse for him, but sometimes that's just how it works out. He feels like him and Franny have developed a close relationship both in and outside the game, and he doesn't want her to blame herself for what happened. And that is where we end episode 7. A very infuriating episode overall. I will say at this point, I was like, you know what? I've been liking the season, but like, who really cares? Who cares how the rest of this ends? Because if this was what the rest of the merge was going to be, I was very much not here for it. And thankfully, episode 8 comes around, and this was
actually so much better.
Episode. Why? Because it was probably the most straightforward merge episode we've had all season. There wasn't like crazy twists going on here. There weren't crazy advantages being in play. This was a very normal merge episode, and it was honestly a very exciting one. Like if this
it was so much better.
Yeah, like if this is what we're going to get for the remainder of the season, this I am very much here for. But we will have to see if that is the case. We start off with Jam Jam once again, basically thanking everyone for keeping him around. And that was very hard for all of them. He says that he didn't think he was going to make it because it was between him and Matt, since her two is all together. He's happy also that Heidi's advantage didn't change the vote much and that Matt still went home. He has, as of now, been at every tribal council minus 2 of them, and he has survived all of them, which I think is a really impressive stat. The fact that he's basically been attendance for almost every single tribal, and he's gotten very few votes to his name, I think is impressive. So definitely something to watch out for. So Franny is very sad with Matt gone. Feels like she is nothing now, and that he felt like home to her, and is very scared and alone that he felt. And to watch him and now see how she's feeling was very hard. Which again, it's like you could have helped yourself here. You didn't have to win immunity for your entire team, but
literally, you could have just dropped.
Yeah, but I digress. We've gone on a lot about that enough. Let's focus on the good here. Brandon says to Kane, who apparently they're working together now. He says that this was the.
I know. I wish we could have seen more of that.
Yeah, this was. I was very confused by this because, like, did we not just see 2 episodes ago? Like, Kane was like public enemy number 1 for Brandon. He wanted him out like as soon as.
They probably had to. I hope there's like a secret scene or something.
I mean, my thing with secret scenes is like just put it in the episode. Like, I just.
know.
That's why I'm very much a big proponent of like make these episode 90 minutes. I'm very much here if they decide to do that next season, because very important like conversations like this we need to see. Like, how did we get from Brandon voting for Kane to now them basically being like number 1s? I don't know how we got here. So basically he says that the two of them wanted Matt gone because of the closeness between him and Franny, and that they come break apart the numbers and have control their way, which again, apparently, I guess they're working together now. So
which
Heidi,
I'm here for.
Yeah, so Heidi tells Jam Jam, who I will say, great episode for Heidi. Like, if there was any episode that convinced me that Heidi's in a really good spot, it's this episode. I thought she did great stuff this episode. She tells him that she was never playing to steal his or Matt's vote, so she wanted to pick the best path to not ruffle any feathers too much with Ratu, and it was clear that they were going for Matt, and she knows she could have changed the outcome of what was happening, so she tried to use it the best way without making any enemies, and she wants to use Jam Jam as a number, so she really has to try to gain trust with them. And she says that right now there are 3 Tikas, 3 Sokas, and 4 Ratu with a lot of currency. And Lauren has an extra vote. Jamie is rumored to have an idol. Kane is very strategic and smart. And Brandon is a huge physical threat. So they're all very strong. And I thought this was, again, I think Heidi has a really good read on things right now. And to me, it seems like if she continues to like apply this, I think she could honestly go really far. But what did you think?
I think so too, actually.
Yeah, I was very impressed by her in this episode. But basically, she tells them like they are the misfits and they have to come up with a plan to suffice to make sure that they will start picking them off one by one. And she wants to pair up with the remaining Tikas in some capacity. So Jam Jam says he really did think he was going home tonight, but now everyone wants Tika's votes and they're all firmly in the middle. And this has started a real war between Soka and Ratu. And I was like, okay, great. Now we actually get to see this war play out. They hinted at it in the last episode. We didn't really get to see it, but we do get to see it in this episode. So honestly, this felt like they were making up for what we didn't get to see last time. We really do get to see like a firm war between these two tribes, which I will say in the 4 seasons we've covered of Survivor, I haven't noticed a lot of like tribal lines be like a thing.
I know, I haven't either.
Tribal lines is like very strong. And honestly, it's making the season a lot more interesting because of it. And I like seeing like these tribes are going head to head. And Tika,
I know, it's crazy.
Tika pretty much, they're calling themselves the Three Stooges, which I love. I love that name. I think that's such a fun alliance name. And
I love it.
They're not realizing how powerful of players that they really are. Carson says that the 3 of them are being underestimated, which puts Tika in a very powerful position. Carolyn seems like she's strategizing with Lauren a little bit, and she says that she feels like she's in a good middle position, and she's going to keep trying to be underestimated and move like she is the turkey of the tribe, which is working out for her because nobody seems to think that Carolyn is like, in this amazing spot that she's really in or has the mind that she really does, and I think it's really working out for her. So Kane says that the Ratu members are strong and they have a good relationship with the Tika 3, and the game is very wide open for all of them. Everything about this confessional just spelled like disaster for me. Like everything Kane says here, I'm like, oh, Kane's not winning this game. This is not happening. He's been telling himself to not be cocky, but it's kind of hard because of how good of a spot they're all in. And he says it's Ratu's game to lose. And if it isn't one of them winning, they messed up. And without spoiling anything, I think they're going to mess up. I think that's what's going to happen. Because, this does not spell positive for me. This very much comes across as negative on Kane's end. So after eating, Carson is feeling very sick, and he ends up throwing up in the bushes, and he's feeling terrible, but Carolyn reassures him that this isn't like him, and he should just relax right now. Kind of a tough episode for Carson. He goes through a lot in this episode. He says he knew on the Survivor that there would be terrible days, but this is a low point, and he's just trying to push through. Carson, for the rest of this episode, is pretty much down for the count. He's still strategizing. He's still doing what he does best, but he's a lot weaker. And honestly,
he's just not feeling well at all.
Yeah, I think this episode was just an indication of just how good of a player that Carson was. The fact that he was able to push through all this, I thought was very impressive on his end. And I think
so too.
I'm more and more impressed by Carson every episode. But this
he's such a strong person.
He really is, and that's why I do think he at least is making the end. So
probably.
That's everything before the tribal, or not the tribal, before the challenge. But let's get into the challenge here that Allie's going to talk about.
All right. It's time for the next immunity challenge. They were instructed by Tree Mail that they'll be divided into 2 pairs.
Which is fine. As long as it doesn't affect the strategy too much, it's fine.
Yeah. Like, as long as it's just, as long as only, like, one person is immune.
Yeah, I first, when they did this, I was like, oh, God, please tell me it's not going to be 2 people that are safe. But thankfully, that is not the case. It was just random.
So it's Kane and Brandon, who are now working together. Franny and Jam Jam, which is interesting. Carolyn and Carson, who are obviously working together. And then Danny and Lauren, who Danny wants to vote out.
Yeah, which I thought was really funny that they were paired together there.
Oh, I thought it was iconic.
Yeah.
And then Heidi and Jamie.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
Yeah, I thought these were interesting pairs for sure.
Oh, yeah. The challenge is going to move quickly and run in 3 stages, where players will be eliminated in each stage. For the first stage, they're going to crawl 1 person at a time through a twisted, muddy net, then dig up planks and race back to their mat. The first 4 pairs to get to their mat and plant their flag move on to the next round. The last pair is out. For the next stage, they'll race up their cargo net, and use those planks to cross a rope bridge. They gotta get both players and all 3 planks to the other side. Then they slide down the wall and race to their mat. The first 2 pairs move on to the final round. For the final round, pairs are gone and will now be individuals. They'll use their arms to brace against 2 walls while their feet are perched on narrow footholds. When they drop, they're out, and the last person wins immunity.
This is a pretty grueling challenge to watch. Like, I think this was really, really a tough one, and I think it was very impressive how it turned out.
Oh, it was so, like, intense, and, like, it looked like I was, like, on the edge of my seat watching it.
Oh, yeah.
Carolyn and Carson have been eliminated in the first round. Franny and Jam Jam and Heidi and Jamie have been eliminated in the second round, so it's down to Brandon, Kane, Danny, and Lauren for immunity. Yeah. And then Hayne and Brandon are the first 2 eliminated, so it's a tight race between the game duo here, Danny and Lauren.
Yeah, which I was very surprised about, but I was happy because it's like, okay, Brandon's not going to go on this like immunity streak of sorts, which I think a lot of people thought was going to happen, that Brandon was going to be
the guy. It's because he's so strong, because he was a football player and stuff.
Well, I remember even preseason, people were saying like he's probably going to go on like this insane immunity streak, and that does not happen. Pretty much ended by this.
I know. After an incredibly grueling challenge, Lauren ends up winning immunity, which is like iconic that she beat 3 strong men.
Yeah, that was a really good moment for her. I wish I knew more about Lauren because I want to root for her, but I don't.
It's like, what if Lauren ends up getting the immunity streak?
It'd be interesting. Hopefully that can give her a bit more of a narrative than, oh, she has an extra vote, so let's take her out. Because there's not much to latch on to right now with her.
Yeah, this was good for her because she definitely had her name out.
Oh yeah. I think there's definitely a possibility she could have gone this round.
Yeah. Danny says he probably would have been gunning for her if she didn't win. And
exactly, I just said.
Yep. He has to change his plans, and the logical decision is taking someone from her 2 out since they're running away with the game right now.
Yeah.
Which is true.
Oh yeah.
All of them are cleaning and rinsing off from the mud and the waters, because obviously they must be very dirty.
Oh yeah.
Jam Jam can't stand how nice everyone is, being too nice to each other, especially when he doesn't have immunity.
I thought it was a really funny moment where he's like, everyone's so nice. Who's going home? Am I safe? Like,
that was so funny.
I mean, I felt for him here because like the last like 3 rounds, it's been his name like consistently coming out. So.
I feel like Jam Jam is just like the scapegoat now.
Yes and no. I think after this round, I don't think he's going to be.
Yeah, we'll see. Brandon pitches to the Ratus to just put the vote on to Franny, and then can hopefully get Carolyn and Carson to go also vote that way.
Yeah, and Brandon's like super Survivor confident in this episode, which is
he is. I won't say he's cocky. He's just very confident.
No, he's just very Survivor confident. Like he's pretty sure like things are gonna go his way no matter
because
what.
He like has people that are on his side.
Yeah, which I mean, to his credit, he is in a really good spot right now. He has 4 people on his side. They're not wavering. You know, one of them just won immunity. He's in a good position right now where it's like they could hypothetically control the vote, but people are starting to notice, and we'll get into that.
Yeah. Jam Jam talks to Brandon to make sure it is on Franny and not him. Brandon makes it clear they won't be going for her. He feels like Carson and Carolyn are going to be numbers to help him get this done, and that Carolyn will go wherever Jam Jam does. And he's hopeful that Jam Jam feels some type of allegiance to them, as they all kept him last round.
Which I want to talk about this again. I think something that Carolyn's doing really well is that people have this perception of her that she's just like, the right-hand woman of Jam Jam. He's calling the shots and she's just going to do it. But let's think back to the first merge vote. Who did she end up voting for? Kane, which nobody seems to think it was her. And I think her doing that, I said it when she did it, but I do think she did that to pretty much cause all this paranoia. And that's exactly what it's done.
And it's like right now it's working for her.
It's really working for her because I don't think anybody suspects that she's the one who.
And also, her and Jam Jam are a duo, but they also have different minds.
Yeah, they're definitely like they're working together, but they're also aware of like each other's games. So
yeah, I feel like I could see them like turning on each other if it gets close to the end.
Yeah, but I think if that were to happen, it's going to be Jam Jam going. I think Carolyn is going to be the one to turn on him.
I think Carolyn's making the end.
Oh yeah, she's been too dominant in the season.
Yeah. As of right now, I see it being like a Carolyn, Carson, Danny. Maybe that would be entertaining.
I don't know about Danny, especially this episode. I don't know.
Actually, I don't know. Danny
I could see Heidi.
Yeah, I will say though that 3 though would be very entertaining in the end.
Oh yeah.
Because like they all have such different games. I don't know. I feel like it could be a close vote.
Yeah, that would be interesting to watch.
Brandon talks to Lauren, Heidi, and Danny, who all seem okay with the idea of Franny going.
Yeah, so it seemed pretty straightforward at this point. Franny's going to go. That's pretty much it. Let's move on. But maybe not.
He feels everyone is all in on Franny with how smart and intelligent of a player she is. Heidi tells Jam Jam this vote is their only real shot of sticking together.
Yeah.
Right,
and we get a really great confessional from Heidi here.
Oh, yeah. While Heidi has considered Danny's initial plan, she wants to make her own plan because there are 3 Sokka and 3 Tika, which is better than the 2-4. And if they stick together, they have the power to vote for someone else.
Which I thought this was brilliant, what she thought of here. Because it's like, yeah, I mean, yes, you have these 4 that are really, confident and are going to stick together. But they probably have no idea that the 6 of them are going to team up and the 6 of them are really going to like try to do something together. And so I thought this was a brilliant play by Heidi. A lot of people thought that Carson was going to be the one to form this because he kind of talked about like, let's get all the misfits together. But it's actually Heidi, it seems like, who was, responsible for that. And I think she really kills it here. Like I said, I thought this was a really strong episode for Heidi. And I do think that she at least is making it far. I don't know if she's going to win, especially because she didn't have much of an edit at all, pre-merge. But
yeah, I don't know. I could see her being maybe in the end, but like maybe only 1 vote finalist by like Danny or something.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see. But then again, I mean, let's look back at 41. Erica didn't have much of an edit and she won. So
true.
She didn't have much of pre-merge. Merge, she had a very obvious edit that you can, was pretty easy to tell, at least in my opinion. A lot of people disagree. They think that Xander should have won, which I don't understand. It definitely Erica deserves.
Why?
That. Because comps, I guess. No, I think when it comes to Heidi, I think that you really do. You can really see just how like she is having these really great reads, and she's recognizing what she needs to do to like put herself in a really strong position. And I do think after this episode, Heidi is in one of the best positions of the game for sure.
I think so too. She's definitely not going any far. Like I think the 2 people. I mean, she does have Lauren because I know they're close, but Lauren's also with the Ratus.
Yeah.
But then she also has Danny,
which I don't think we've seen enough of. Like I've seen a lot of people say Heidi and Lauren are that close, but like we don't really get to see a lot with that. So
yeah.
Who knows how close they are?
He talks to Danny, who confesses to having the idol, which he already has suspected. And he says he could use the idol on Franny and they could blindside Brandon because he is the biggest threat. Which I will say it's kind of funny because I know remember when they were broing it out in the journey and they wanted to work together, and then he's like, nah, let's get him out
because we didn't even get to see that. Yeah. I think
Maybe they just, I mean, they probably still like wrote it out. They probably just didn't like align game wise.
Well, I think this could be attributed to a couple things. One, I can say I think Danny has not had the correct edit on this show because they very much made it seem like Danny was going to be in like constant self-preservation mode where like it's like, this is my idol, nobody else can have it, I'm playing it on myself, I'm not going to let anyone else know that I have it. Like he's going to have this like overconfidence in him and it's going to be like his downfall. But it seems like in this episode he's actually willing to play it on somebody else, which I would never have expected, especially when like you see him initially get the idol. And then when it comes to Brandon, again, I think that was just not a correct edit on him. So I don't know what exactly they've been doing with Danny this season, but clearly
I also think it was really funny when he farted during the comp.
That was funny. But
I was just like, really? What is this?
That was funny.
They actually aired that.
Yeah, but I do think there is something to be said about the edit that Danny's had this season. I don't think it's been the correct one, and I wonder if this was actually true. Was he always planning to play it on somebody else? Was he always planning to just have it, keep it to himself? I'm not really sure. Like I'm wondering if postseason we're gonna hear Danny say something about I never intended to like play this idol on Franny, or vice versa, I never intended to keep this for myself. Like I'm wondering if that was the case, because to me at least, I don't know about you, but this just did not align with what we saw with Danny prior to this.
I don't know, we'll definitely see, like, because I want to see more of his game in that sense. Heidi talks to Jam Jam, Carolyn, and Franny and about how strong the two are together, but the six of them can form something even stronger, and they would be stupid not to, and that Brandon is the person to go for because he's such a big physical threat, and if they don't, they will be goats.
Yeah, which, I mean, that's very much what's going to happen if they don't stick together.
Yeah. Jam Jam is conflicted because Ratu now sees him in the middle, and if they know he's with them, they will start putting his name down.
Which, I mean, is definitely, like, something to worry about, but without Brandon, Ratu's kind of nothing. You have Kane, you have Jamie, and you have Lauren, who, out of those three, Lauren is really the only one I have confidence in. I don't really have much confidence in Kane at all. Jamie, I've been saying from the beginning, I see her going early merge, and I
don't see Jamie and Kane making it farther. Lauren, maybe.
Yeah, because, I mean, what is the arc that either of those two have? That's the other thing. Like, I don't know what Jamie's arc.
They don't really have much of a story.
That's what I'm saying. Like, that's why I don't see either of them going.
Like, Brandon was kind of the ringleader.
Oh, very much so. Very much so.
He goes to talk to Carson and says Heidi is trying to get them against Brandon. Carson says they don't need to make a move that's going to ruin their games. Heidi comes over, and while Carson feels this is a smart power play, he doesn't want to make any enemies in that they're just worried that it won't work. She then tells them about Danny's idol and that she didn't know this before, and he would play it on Franny, which seems to be the boost they need to move forward with the vote.
Yeah, I mean, this pretty much all the confirmation they needed. Okay, then maybe we can make this happen.
Jam Jam says he is playing all sides and kind of wants to run to Ratu and tell them about this, and his game plan is to get through this vote with all of this alliance and to have options tomorrow. Jam Jam just wants to cause all the chaos.
And I'm here for it, but I was also like, no, don't ruin this blind side. This could be so good.
If he ruined it, I feel like it probably would have backfired on him.
Oh, this would have been so bad if he did that.
Like, I feel like everyone would just like flip to him if that happened.
Oh yeah, they would have been pissed.
Oh yeah. Danny talks to Franny, and while she is at first apprehensive about Tribal tonight, he lets her know about his idol and that he's going to play it on her. She loves the idea and really wants to believe it, but the Brandon plan falls apart if just one person thinks the six will not work.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very valid concern to have.
Yeah. Danny talks to Carson and at first wants to leave Jam Jam out of the vote, but Carson says he likely knows about it. Danny is not happy to hear that Heidi leaked about his idol to others and that he now has to play it. And Carson says he will monitor Jam Jam.
Which I love the fact that, like, Carson's
like mostly all these powers are just getting out in the open.
That, but also I love the fact that, which, speaking of that, going back to Carolyn, the only person who's been able to hold on to an idol and nobody knows about it, which is so impressive. Literally nobody knows about Carolyn's idol. So
I know.
I'm excited to see what comes of that.
I'm so excited.
going back to Carson for a second here. I love the idea. I love when he's like, "Oh, Jam Jam probably knows about," when Carson's the one that told him.
It's so funny. Danny is terrified that this will mess up everything, and if he plays the idol, he's gone. But Carson thinks he should be okay. He's very, very fearful Jam Jam will tell Ratu about what's happening, and they switch the vote onto him, and if he goes through with the plan, he will either play his idol on Franny or use it to protect himself. Or he could just also trust the Tika tribe is voting with them and keep the idol in his bag. But either way, it's about adaptability, and he's ready for it.
Yeah, which I was very excited to see how this tribal played out. And I will say, I thought this was a very exciting tribal.
Oh, yeah.
So Jeff asked Kane where the game is right now with the juror. He says it brings another layer to the game because they all have to be playing different and physical. And there's a lot of people here who will start skyrocketing their game, which I think we're seeing with Heidi. Like, Heidi's the perfect example of someone whose game is like really starting to like increase. So Heidi says the biggest difference is that everyone is vulnerable except Lauren, and she's just hoping she's on the right side of the vote. Carolyn says that nothing is ever certain in the game, especially with Danny and Lauren initially against each other and now work together as partners. Things are changing pretty much on the daily. Heidi brings up how much...
I will say, if Lauren and Danny became a duo, I'm here for it.
That'd be interesting if that happened, but I don't know if it will.
Kind of like Kane and Brandon.
I will say, out of the Ratus, Lauren is the one I see going the farthest.
Same.
Which is interesting because we know the least about her. So, so Heidi brings up how much anxiety there was today and that she's been at a 10 since they all started the Immunity Challenge. Jamie agrees, but she wears it well, which I thought was really funny when Heidi's like, wait, do I not wear it well? I thought that was a really funny moment.
Oh, yeah, that was funny.
Like I said, Jamie's just like queen of positivity. Like that's her edit. She's just always positive. She's always thinking I'm in a great spot. I'm waiting for it to crumble. I feel like it's going to, and it hasn't happened.
I just want to see more with her.
Yeah. So Kane says that he's always trying to make sure that he has an intention. So that is the commodity of every single vote. And then we get down to the vote. However, before it does go down, Danny does play his idol on Franny here, which was a great moment to see an idol play. I feel like it's been a while since we've seen like a really good idol play in Survivor.
Yeah.
I think this was a really exciting one.
Because she did have the most votes, so it was correct.
Yeah. And this proves to be a correct play. So she does end up receiving the most votes. So with the idol played, it ends up being a 4-0, resulting in Brandon going. And Brandon is the next person voted out. I was not super surprised about this. I kind of felt like coming into the merge that Brandon was not going to go super far. He had potential, I feel like, in the beginning of the game, but I feel like ever since him playing his idol very early on, it just really fucked him over. And I knew that the second that like his name was out there, it was just going to be like impossible to let go of it. So
yeah. I mean, I really like Brandon because he was like very nice and he was very smart and like obviously like he was a physical threat. Like if he did go any farther, he probably, I mean, it's a good move because he probably would have won a bunch of the challenges.
Definitely.
But I mean, I'm definitely sad to see him leave because he was so fun to watch. But I mean, it's also interesting because now the other Ratus have to like change their game a bit.
Yeah, and that's the other thing I want to ask you about. Like, what do you think the other Ratus are going to survive without Brandon? Because to me, at least, I felt like Brandon was like the glue that held them together, and without him, kind of nothing.
Because like with what happened with like in the like trailer for the preview for the next one, I don't have high hopes for Kane.
Oh no, he's
like Kane might be one of the next two. Jamie, it's hard to say. Like, I don't know. Maybe the girls will come together. Maybe they'll keep Jamie. I don't know. I don't know. Jamie just doesn't have much of an edit. Like if she makes it to the end, I can kind of see her being a 0 vote finalist.
I think we are going to see a Paganing of sorts on the Ratu side. I could very well see it be Kane and Jamie like back to back. But like I said, I feel like
Lauren, I mean, if Danny keeps on targeting Lauren, I could see her going soon, unless they like come together. Which would be interesting, a very interesting dynamic, which I'd like to see.
I do want to talk about this vote real quick because if you noticed, it was not 6-0, it was 4-0, and the two people who did not vote for Franny were Jam Jam and Carson. So either they did this because they wanted to not make it obvious that like 6 people were working together, or Carson and Jam Jam were just not confident on.
Yeah, it was Danny, Franny, Heidi,
Franny, Carolyn, and Heidi.
You mean Carson and Heidi? What about Franny?
Danny, Franny, Carolyn, and Heidi.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You said Jam Jam and
What?
Carson. You said Jam Jam and Carson.
Yeah, Jam Jam and Carson didn't vote for Brandon. I said.
Oh, yeah. Right. Sorry.
Yeah, which I think is interesting. And I'm wondering if like, was this a deliberate thing that the Alliance did because they didn't want to make it seem like the 6 of them were working together?
Probably.
Or were the 2 of them just not confident at all and just didn't vote correctly? Which I don't feel like that's
I also want to see more of the Carson and Kane dynamic too.
If that's even still a thing,
because like they're just very similar people, so like they have a good dynamic.
They are. They definitely
are. They're both just like the nice nerdy guy and who like to like bro it up about like gaming and stuff. But like I hope
want to talk about Brandon's retrospective real quick. Not really much to say here. He says that Danny clearly had the idol and it was a great move and he can't knock him for it. He isn't going to, and he's leaving here with no regrets, leaving no stone unturned. And he did everything he felt like he could do to make himself go further in the game and play as hard as he could. And he tried to swing as many relationships as he could. But sometimes you get caught, and they were going for the big fish, and he got caught. And I feel like that's really what happened with Brandon. I don't think he did anything like egregiously bad here where it's like, this is a terrible move. But
it was really just a strategic move that
it caught up to him. Like his position.
Because he's like such a big threat.
Yeah, his positioning really caught up to him, and after that, there really was just no saving him at that point. And like I said, I wasn't surprised because I kind of predicted Brandon was going to be an early merge move pretty much from the onset. So.
Yeah, I remember. Where did I say Brandon was going to go in preseason?
I think you said like 8th or 7th.
Yeah, like mid jury kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't. Who do you still? Let's look at our draft right now. Let's see who you still have left.
I have like 3 people, I think.
Oh yeah, you had like a lot of the pre-jury.
Because all the people I had high hopes for left.
Yeah.
I had Brandon, I know that.
Let me look at it real quick.
I think you had Matt, okay. I'm pretty sure.
I still have Jam Jam, Lauren, Heidi, Franny, and Jamie. And then you still have Carson, Carolyn, and you have Danny and Kane, and that's
okay. I thought you had Danny for some reason.
No, Danny, we were not confident at all preseason.
Yeah, that's true.
It was like, and same with Jamie, we weren't confident all in her.
No, you have 5, I have 4. Not bad. Yeah. It's pretty like equal because like our BB can one, you only have 2.
God, let's not even talk about that. That's a whole different can of worms. But I
mean, you might win. Who knows?
I don't know.
We'll see.
I don't know. We'll see. Daniel, I mean, he's in a good spot. So
honestly, I don't know who has the better shot out of the 2. Maybe Shania.
Yeah, I don't know, but that's a whole different discussion. Anyway, speaking of which, you can look forward to our ongoing coverage of BB Can. There's a double eviction coming up this week. It's going to be spicy, I think. We're in for a good week. I don't know why we're dancing. We will see how that goes. But
that was really funny.
Anyway, yeah. Very excited to see how the rest of the season plays out. We're getting down to it. I think we're at the final 9 now. There's 9 people left.
Yes. Yeah, because you have 5 people left. I have not, and I have 4.
Yeah, so that's very exciting to see how it all ends up playing out. Really, I still think that Ratu is winning this game. I feel like they've had the most focus, especially with like the fact that they're like firmly in the middle now. I think it's going to be one of them at the end. So did I say Ratu? I meant Tika. Yeah, one of the Tikas.
Yeah, the only Ratu one I have confidence in is Lauren right now.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't have any confidence for Jamie and Kane at all, which sucks.
Oh, yeah, I remember both of us didn't really have... Wait, I don't think either of us had confidence in Kane or Jamie preseason either.
I mean, they're not.
Kane, Jamie, Franny, Danny, all of them. We did not.
Kane, we thought was going to be like first boot.
We thought that about. I think we thought that about like him and Jamie, and also
yeah.
we also didn't see Franny going far either.
Technically, Jamie would have been if she didn't play her shot in the dark. So,
yeah, she probably
apparently her name was out there that round, so it wasn't like for nothing.
Yeah, I will say like I probably would have preferred that because I did like the others a little bit more.
Oh, I agree.
But like I still like her.
She hasn't really done. She's just kind of there. Like that's my like.
She's literally just all she is a number. That's it.
She's just there, and she's always like just positive and excited about everything. So
yeah, she's really all she is just a number for people. That's it.
Yeah, that's really it. But is there anything else you want to say before we wrap things up here?
I'm just very excited for the next episode, and if anyone
wants more of this, not more of what we got of.
I mean, we didn't really have many viewers this time, but hopefully, if anyone wants to, just hit us up if you want to be a guest on the next one or finale or anything. Just hit us up, and we're always like available to chat.
Yeah. That's it for this. But other than that, guys, that is it for our coverage of Survivor 44. As always, let us know what you guys thought of this week's episode. We would love to hear your thoughts on it. That's it for this video. And remember, couples who podcast together, stay together. We will see you guys later. Have a good night.
Have a good night, guys.